powers are the last big element of the game. These really define your engine in a different way from the tiles and let you do some pretty unique things. And these have evolved a lot over time as well. This is kind of the basic shape of what a power card has looked for the majority of developing this thing. Now the you can see in the center this shows the match. What I've seen over development is certain patterns are just harder to recognize. And for me, I don't want that to be the thing that hangs people up, is figuring out the pattern recognition. It may seem like a simple thing, but having, for instance, a blue directly next to a yellow is just a lot harder to parse than, for instance, having two different colors apart from each other on the spinner. Because they're not adjacent, it is so much harder to misinterpret what it's like. There's also this power card, which had, four different elements in a certain order. And yes, you can take time and parse it, but when you do something much simpler like this, it just makes the game a lot more playable. You can see other ways in which these power cards have changed themselves. Initially, I wasn't writing so many power cards with this kind of condition, like once per turn, or a lot of them will have something like at the start of a turn, do this. I grabbed onto that with my friend Dan. Really sat down and talked through this as kind of one of the hurdles you have when you're learning these power cards, is like when to play them. So giving them very specific timing. Many of the cards have that start of turn, so you kind of at the start of your turn you go through all your different powers, or they'll have conditional ones like when you're purchasing, so you know exactly when to do it. Previously it was like mostly you can do it on your turn, and these are terrible examples because these are once per turn cards. But I've moved the conditional out of the main text box and just put it simply here. So it's just that slight bit easier to parse. Another big thing is just increasing the size of the pattern to match, offsetting it, making it much clearer, because that's a big thing that you're looking at from across the table, is how do I make this match? So a big thing to take away is like making it easy for the player to parse what's going on and don't have that be an unnecessary roadblock in the design. So as far as the powers themselves, I've iterated through a lot of different ideas for how to distribute them. Originally, I had just 3 stacks of the cards, right? The rarity that gets more powerful as you go. What I saw was I wasn't getting deep enough into the deck. So my first pass was testing it out with, hey, after using a certain amount of cards, they get discarded. Then I moved on to this idea of I'm going to have these black cards that kind of automate that process. And when you draw them, or when they would get played, and I didn't explain well, typically I had 3 power cards out at once. Really easy for a player to parse, and they can internalize those 3 power cards, figure out what they're going to do from there. But it had this problem, like I said, you don't get deep enough fast enough. So the purple cards, the epic cards, the ones that can be really fun, you just wouldn't see them, or you'd see them at the very end of the game, and in collecting them, you would reach the points that you needed to end the game, and then you wouldn't even get to use them. So this power cycle card did improve things, but it didn't do it in the way I'd like. One of the things I wanted to avoid was doing something like Splendor, where I, present all the cards at once, and then somebody might come across a dominant strategy where they end up taking high power cards and just the high power cards, and kind of foregoing some of the engine building. So lately, something I tried was tying it to score. and try to ignore the number that makes no sense there, uh, where you start out, as you would before, with the 3 power cards. And then as you play, and as a player reaches a score, for one, this gives you a score track so you can see where everybody's at as you're going. And for two, you would unlock cards as you go, which would speed up the game over time. It would give you more options, but ideally not too many options to the point that people are having a lot of analysis paralysis and figuring out what to do. I tried this out with this many cards, and it was just too much. So for the next playtest, I'm simplifying it down a little bit more. What I saw with having 8 cards out at once is you would burn through all the green cards, which is fine. In that case, if you burn through all of your green cards, you would just start replacing them with blue cards, or once you burn through the blue cards, you'd start replacing them with the epic or purple cards. In doing that, you end up seeing a lot of the higher power cards more early, and you can kind of strategize around that. So I think it strikes a balance where it's not too overwhelming. I still have that initial experience where you are just looking at 3 power cards and you can make decisions on that. But the complexity will deepen as you go, as you start seeing these more powerful cards and figuring out how you're going to pattern match those. Anyway, I thought I'd share. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn more or get a little more involved, take a look at the Discord in the link below, subscribe, and like this video. Thanks.